Welcome to Woodsboro, a quiet little burg that is about to become a media circus. A teenage girl and her boyfriend are brutally murdered, and it has some connection to a murder that happened a year prior. This killer, dubbed Ghostface because of his frightening mask, is murdering everyone connected to high school senior Sydney Prescott. And Sydney must figure out the killer's identity before she runs out of friends and family. In what many horror fans consider to be Wes Craven's masterpiece, this 1996 horror classic started a franchise that is 6 films and 1 TV series strong. This is Scream. I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
Fuck that show. I'm Carol Leger.
And this is Filmgazm. Welcome to the new and improved Filmgazm podcast. In honor of the release of the critically acclaimed Scream 6, Caleb and I are going back to the beginning with the OG Scream, one of the most celebrated films in horror history. And we, back in the olden days of the podcast, the before 4 times, as Cloud Atlas would say, we covered Scream. That was Josh's first episode with Austin and I. And it was a long-ass one because he had a lot to say. And you were on a boat. You didn't get to play with us.
No, I was on my fucking COVID-19 deployment for 11 months. So for anyone who was complaining, unless you had serious shit you were facing during COVID, I know some of us went through some serious shit. For those who were just complaining about just staying at home while you still had a job, fuck you. I was on a boat for 11 months.
We did Scream, we did Scream 2, and then you came along and got to do Scream 3. So the one you hated, you got to do, which was, yay. But now that we've, rebooted the show, started from scratch, anything we've covered on any of our previous shows is fair game to try again. So here we are. You finally get to do Scream.
Yeah, right. Post-pandemic, not on a boat anymore. It's great.
So first up, before we get into this, a bit about the new structure of the show. If you've been listening to our content for a while now, you'll know we've started to change some stuff up. Basically, our new structure will be kind of a Frankenstein version of our 3 previous shows. We're going to have the opening question and production info from Filmgazm, the personal awards from Oscar Sunday, and we'll end with the What's in the Box segment from Beyond the Bat. Best of everything into a cool new show structure. Colton and I recorded a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode we'll be launching back in August for the new movie using this structure. Went like clockwork. Should have been doing this years ago. It's great. It's perfect. So I'm looking forward to doing this with Scream.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing this. And, a structure that's eerily similar to Beyond the Bad, but I didn't have to do all the work. So it's actually kind of nice being on the other end of that script.
Yeah, and if my opening monologue sounded familiar to longtime fans, I did indeed recycle the same script that I used when I did Scream the first time. But because I got Caleb here, the content will be different because that's how it works.
Content.
Exactly. So to start out, Caleb, what's your history with Scream? Why do you love this movie so much?
So it was one of the later Wes Craven films I got into. Because I latched on to Nightmare on Elm Street first, and I had always heard about Scream. It was one of those things where I was like, everyone talked about it when I was a kid growing up, and I was like, oh, okay, I want to check this out. And I, every so often would put blind buys on my Christmas birthday wish list from for my parents for stuff. And I put Scream on there, and I put all 3 of them because that was back when there was all 3. You could get the DVDs, simpler times. And straight enough, for my birthday, my mom had got me all 3 Screams for DVDs on DVD. And I remember she was dropping a young cousin of mine was staying over. They were taking him back to his parents. He stayed over our house for the weekend. He was going to take him back to San Antonio. And while they were gone, I was like, hey, I can finally pop open these DVDs. And so I wasn't feeling good, so I stayed behind. And I watched Scream. So the first time I watched Scream, I was sick, which was great. But I fell in love. I immediately fell in love to the point I remember like my mom and siblings came back. I think it was on like Scream 2. They're like, "Oh, we watched." I was like, "Oh, Scream," and they actually watched the rest of it with me, and we ended up watching like the whole thing together. And I have just been in love since. I think it's a film that I know a lot of people say it's a very obviously very rewarding if you're a horror fan and you get all the references. I recently read it was an article on Bloody Disgusting. I forget who the author was, but someone made a good argument for why actually it's a perfect first time horror film because it does like yeah, it's throwing references, but it because of that it gets you very interested in saying like okay, well what else? What other things it's referencing? I kind of want to check that stuff out too. Um, and it's just to me like that perfect blend of like humor and horror and like smart but not pretentious, being too snobby with its smartness. Like it's just like Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson that cannot be talked about enough because it was his tight script that even was reason this got made. That just it all comes together perfectly in this film. I have loved them since I first watched them. I've had them on DVD. I had the individual Blu-ray releases when I was upgrading. I still got the set that I believe you got me one year for Christmas. That's the set I still have actually to this day. Um, and it's just a series I've watched. Like I've seen at least the first few like way too many times because I just always find myself just watching them one after the other usually.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, this is there's very few horror fans that don't dig Scream. It's because it's so meta, because it's very aware of what it is, and it embraces so much of horror history. It's like, horror eating itself almost. And that's great, it's a big meal. Uh, I watched Scream for the first time when I was about 14. I'd seen Scary Movie. Uh, I had no frame of reference for that. So I just, thought it was a goofy, stupid slasher parody and was like, oh, this is funny. And then I watched Scream. I got it in Netflix DVD in the mail when that was big. I watched it and I was like, oh, this is cool. So I got the second one in the mail. I got the third one in the mail. And then that year for Halloween, I dressed up as Ghostface. I got into that way later than everybody else did. I was like the only Ghostface.
Did you get like one of those masks that you could like do the fake blood?
Nah,
They do like, regular white masks and the ones that can like you can pump like fake blood into the damn thing.
I remember that, and I remember the like goofy one with the tongue hanging out from Scary Movie.
Yeah.
I got the classic, no blood, just black hood, white mask, classic Ghostface costume. And,
Nice.
yeah, they're fun movies. They're enjoyable. They're exciting. I didn't, when I first saw them, I didn't know the twist, so I was shocked every time.
Oh yeah, I was able to avoid the twist. So like each one was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
every single time.
Scary Movie did kind of fuck up the twist for the first movie because it's the boyfriend. Like I
Oh
kind of
yeah.
saw that one coming. But 2 through 6, no spoilers, which was nice. Yeah, and this has been a long time coming. When we first decided to reboot the show, Scream was kind of the first movie I wrote down because it was coinciding with Scream 6. I was like, we gotta do something with Scream. So I'm glad we did.
Yeah, this is always a fun series. A fun series in general. Talk about obviously the first film, what hasn't been said at this point, but it's still always fun to talk about this. Like, the fact that, in case anyone hasn't seen the box office yet for the new one, I mean, this franchise is still very relevant. The new, Scream 6 has broken franchise records and is like far exceeded expectations for its opening weekend. So like it's still going stronger than ever.
Yeah, which is rare for a horror franchise like this. I
Mhm.
mean, the Child's Play remake fizzled out. Texas Chainsaw on Netflix. Like some people liked it, some people didn't. It was pretty divisive.
Yeah.
Scream
Uh,
has yet to fail.
yeah. Even Saw, as much as I love Saw, like let's be honest, the past few films have been two different attempts to revitalize the franchise, and apparently they haven't latched. So we're getting a third attempt with this upcoming one that has nothing to do with Jigsaw, has nothing to do with Spiral. It's just another attempt to rejuvenate the franchise.
Go Sox. I can't wait.
Yeah. Chucky and Scream are like the two franchises still going strong. Child's Play remake notwithstanding, the actual or like ongoing storyline is still going strong.
Yep. And as you know, with our last Filmgazm, we talked, or our previous last Filmgazm, when we went in depth on the current status of Freddy and Jason, that's at this point kind of a lost cause.
Yeah, I mean, granted, we now have some hope for Jason. I do think that Peacock show is going to kick some butts. It looks like it already is kicking some butts in Sean Cunningham. But yeah, it's taking a while. Apparently, the last thing I heard with the Nightmare on Elm Street thing is actually they don't know who the fuck owns the rights.
My God, you'd think somebody would be keeping track of that shit. It's only a multi-million-dollar franchise. Like,
I know. I was like, so we have Mike Flanagan who wants to do a Nightmare on Elm Street, and we can't figure out who the fuck owns the rights. That's awesome.
I thought it was the Craven estate holding the keys to all that stuff.
Apparently, I guess I don't know. So apparently, no one actually knows.
Jesus Christ. Well, thankfully, they figured out who owned Scream and were able to do something with that.
Well, no, we figured that out because that company fell and crumbled, and all its library had to get bought by other people.
Well, I don't want to say, New Line should consider that, but you know what? Maybe.
I feel like Bob Shea. I feel like Bob Shea knows who owns Nightmare on Elm Street. He's not fucking saying.
Well, yeah. The last thing we want is another pissing contest with producers.
Oh God. Yeah.
So my question for you, to get things rolling here, you're probably the biggest Wes Craven fan I've ever known, and I'm curious. You've seen, I assume, all, if not like most, if not all of his work, at least all of his notable work.
Yeah.
What to you, if you had to pick, is Wes Craven's masterpiece?
His masterpiece. You're a bastard for asking this question. Fuck. Oh, that's tough. I think. Oh boy, wow. Dude, because I have okay. So the contenders I have right now, other, you know what? I'm going to just take out Scream and Nightmare because that's too easy. That's just too easy ones. And now I'm debating between People Under the Stairs and The Last House on the Left and Hills Have Eyes. You know what? If you were to take out Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street, I would go People Under the Stairs. Because as much as I like Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, I like the Hills Have Eyes remake a bit better. I do. I do. I know. Hot take.
Wow.
But also not that hot of a take because Wes Craven did produce it, so don't come at me. Shut the fuck up. And Last House is great, but like, let's be honest, rewatchability for me, it's up there. I can rewatch it, but I understand people can't. But People on the Stairs, the reason I say that is because that was a recent watch we did for another Wes Craven centered thing we did, where I watched that and Shocker, and actually I think there may have been something else. But with that was the one I was not expecting to have nearly as much fun as I did with. It is a zany, kooky, bonkers fucking film that should not work, and somehow it does completely work. Don't know how, don't know why, but it does. And I remember it moves so good. The pacing on that film was great. I like the whole, like, the weird mom dad shit going on. It was like I think there was an overtone of incest hinted at that was kind of creepy and made an extra ick feeling with the movie. Just the idea of like the people that lived under that fucking house, that shit was creepy. So if I were to say, like, you take out Scream and Nightmare, probably People on the Stairs would actually be my unlikely pick. But if you're talking, like, if you include those two in the conversation, it's a toss up between Scream or Nightmare on Elm Street.
Why would you not include it? It's like saying, what's Leonardo da Vinci's best painting, but we're going to take out the Mona Lisa and The Last Supper.
Well, yeah, because that's too easy.
There's a reason those are the films that everyone goes to.
I want to make it hard. I don't want to go with the easy option.
People Under the Stairs was oddball. It was interesting. It was weird. I don't know. I think I got to go with Music of the Heart.
I hate you.
Those inner city kids can play. What was it? The
Sir,
trumpet? I don't
I'm
remember.
going to just plow through this. Serpent in the Rainbow was really good. I really like that one.
That is a good. It's a voodoo thriller. I gotta say, for being serious now, for me, it's New Nightmare. I really love that movie.
See, if I'd pick, I would go with the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, New Nightmare is great. I like New Nightmare a lot, but God, that first Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, introduction of Freddy's good, Elm Street's good, but New Nightmare, it was something so primal and creative and new. The idea of a demon wearing Freddy and trying to enter this world through a movie, that's such a cool concept. And Freddy, like the new Freddy design was so freaky looking. It was it looked like a demon wearing Freddy, like what they said
It was well, it was closer to his original design for Freddy.
There you go. So like New Nightmare was, the original concept was in there. I think if I had to pick a favorite, it's that one. But I get why everyone, picks Scream, because Scream is, it's the ultimate meta horror adventure. It's Wes Craven, coming back, after people told him, some kid was like, you're too soft. You should try to kick some ass again. He's like, you know what? Maybe so. And that was Scream.
Well, and also Scream is the more consistent franchise. Now, granted, keep in mind, like Wes Craven wasn't actively involved in every single Nightmare on Elm Street remake. It's very well known the falling out him and Bob Shaye had.
I love the shade that he throws in the first Scream when at the beginning when the killer calls Drew Barrymore and is like, Elm Street was good. It's like, yeah, the first one, but the other one sucked.
Yeah, it's funny he does that too because he was involved in the third film. He had like a producer like writing role for it. That's so he was involved with that one. But I mean, also it's also Frank Darabont's script. It does a whole story on that one. But yeah, it's funny. I always laugh at that because yeah, it's like I think that's what kind of taints that one in a way. Is that like Nightmare is great, Nightmare on Elm Street is great, New Nightmare is great. Obviously, everyone loves Train Warriors. I love Train Warriors. But again, like it wasn't a consistent franchise. Whereas I think as a franchise, Scream is so much stronger because one, up until his death, he was actively involved. In the first four films. And even the third one, while it's like my personal least favorite, compared to like some other fucking franchise lows I've watched, I can still watch Scream 3 and have a good time. Like I'm not like having to work my way through it on a marathon watch. I'm just like, hey, okay, Scream 3 is next. Like I can still enjoy this shit out of it. It's just it's like this. It's my least favorite in the franchise, and I would give it a 7 out of 10. If that makes sense. Whereas I just sat through Cheapest Creepers Reborn, people, and you want to talk about low shitty fucking sequels? Watch that movie.
It is, yeah, it's rare for a franchise to be, 6 films in and still exciting and fresh and unpredictable. And Craven did that for the first 4 films, and these Radio Silence guys have picked up that torch and are carrying it fucking strong. So, yeah, his masterpiece is probably Scream, probably Elm Street, depends on who you're talking to, really. But like we said, he's got some great movies besides that: Serpent in the Rainbow, Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left. Even Shocker was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of lost my interest towards the end of the movie, but yeah, it's one of those films that he kind of went for it. I was like, all right, that's the thing too. Is like I always like to tell people like his career is interesting because he has like Nightmare and Scream to his name. But then you watch if you just watch those and then you watch Last House, and I'm talking the original films, not the remakes. I do stand by the Hills Have Eyes remake. It's fucking great. But the original Hills Have Eyes and Last House Left, it's almost like those. You think, how is that Wes Craven? Because it's such a vicious, pissed off, primal Craven you're getting. And then you watch some of his other stuff like People on the Stairs, Serpent in the Rainbow, Deadly Blessings, Shocker, what have you around that period. And it's also a different rest. It's not. It seems to be a more mixture of that hard edge with the more mainstream stuff he was starting to do at that time.
Well, I think that's a lot of directors start out trying to get their vision on celluloid immediately. Like, I want to, this is what I want. I want to be I want to be unforgettable, disgusting, freakish, monstrous. People are going to remember me. And then, they take that and they apply that to lessons they learn along the way. We see that with, like, Spielberg started out with Duel, which is a pretty by the numbers horror film about a guy fighting a pissed off trucker. Scorsese started with, stuff like Who's That Knocking at My Door and Boxcar Bertha and Taxi Driver, all vicious movies about just horrible people doing horrible shit to each other. And yeah, very few filmmakers start out with, some kind of compromised, neat, perfectly symmetrical film. They got to figure out how to make that. So they're starting out with low budget, gross shit a lot of the time, especially in the 70s.
Oh yeah, exploitation flicks were huge at that time.
Low budget, easy to film. You can pretty much abuse whoever you wanted to. That's the beauty of filmmaking in the 70s. No one cared.
Yeah. Don't want the laws there will now.
No. There was no union. What are you talking about? Well, there probably was, but you sure as shit weren't in it. You got $50 in cash and had to bring your own lunch. Yeah, that was fun.
No.
Always fun.
I know. I kind of made that hard on myself. I was like, God, if it's too easy for me to just say, "Hey, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street," so I'm like, let's make this a little bit more fun and actually name some other stuff that people aren't expecting, especially with Wes Craven.
Yeah, at least with Wes Craven, there's options. If we were talking like George Lucas, and I said, what's George Lucas's masterpiece, and you told me American Graffiti, I tell you to go fuck yourself. We all know what it is.
I mean, hey, look, with that said, as much as I love Wes Craven, we've talked about before, like when he missed, he missed. So like if I ask that and the first answer you told me is like Cursed, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong? Or My Soul to Take? I'm gonna be like, okay, we need to talk.
Yeah, that's contrarian behavior. That's I gotta go on the opposite side of the spectrum so I can sound smart. And
yeah.
We saw those movies. We watched them, we talked about them on the old show. They were shit. We know that.
Yeah, I love Wes Craven. I don't love those movies.
I do want to revisit Serpent and the Rainbow soon. It's been a long time since I watched that.
I really like that one. That was a good fucking movie.
It'd be fun to give awards to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good warm up there. I enjoyed that. Let's dig into the production history of Scream. It's actually pretty fascinating how Scream came about. Scream was written by Kevin Williamson, who would also write Scream 2, Scream 4, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and The Faculty. He also created and developed the TV shows Dawson's Creek, The Following, and The Vampire Diaries. He's a busy bee.
Huh?
He's a busy bee.
Yeah, prolific guy. I watched his recent film. It's on Peacock. A little shout out to Kevin Williamson. But if you guys are looking for a neat little slasher film, check out Sick on Peacock, written by Kevin Williamson. It's a COVID set slasher, where it's about these two friends right at the height of the pandemic when they were doing the the quarantines and all that stuff. They go to a cabin to get away from people and hang out, and obviously someone is stalking them and hunting them down. Very cool movie, very brutal. The way they I forget who directed it, so forgive me, I can't remember the director off the top of my head. But the way they filmed it, a lot of the chase scenes are one take chase scenes. And so it's really neat. So yeah, if you're trying to get a Kevin Williamson fix outside of Scream, recent film that came out this year, check it out. Sick on Peacock. I watched it. Really fucking good movie.
Cool. I'll put that on my list. I will go check out The Cock. Look for Sick. My shorthand, Peacock.
Yeah.
I love saying that because it's so off-putting to everybody I've said it to.
Yeah. Good old Peacock. But yeah, good old Kevin Williamson. He prolific guy. Actually, quick update on those who are wondering about that whole. Because I know, speaking of I Know What You Did Last Summer, they announced that Legacy sequel. Apparently, Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't have a script, and he's just now hearing about it.
Oh boy, they're pulling a Star Trek 4. Did they say like Prince is involved, and he's like, what?
Pretty much, he's like, I haven't seen shit, and they haven't talked to me.
My God, why do they do that? It's a great way to make sure the actors want nothing to do with the project.
Yeah, I'm like, stop trying to force them to be in your movie by announcing it and then not talking to him. Like Freddie Prinze Jr., look, I've seen it. He seems like a nice guy. All right. I've based off interviews, he seems like a decent guy. So I'm sure could have easily been like, hey, do you want to do this? Are you interested? We got a script. And he probably would have been like, let me read the script. Probably wouldn't have been very hard. But now you probably pissed him off. And now he's like, I know.
I always thought that it worked as, you write a movie, you pick, you get production capital, you talk actors, you reach out to actors, you see, hey, I'm making this. Would you be interested? They're like, well, maybe. Show me a script. You send the script, they read the script, they like it or they don't like it, and you move from there. But in reality, it's more like, we're going to make this and we're going to do whatever we can to get that guy involved, even if we have to guilt him. And that's not, has that ever actually worked? I don't think so.
Because I think they underestimate how these people sometimes make money. Like, yeah, we haven't seen Freddie Prinze Jr. on the big screen since like the 90s and early 2000s. But for those who don't know, the guy does a shit ton of voice work. Like, that's actually how he's been making his money. He does a lot of voice work. He does a lot of the Star Wars TV shows.
Yeah, he was Kanan Jarrus on Rebels, right?
Yes. I think he did some other stuff. So he's not hurting for money. He's just doing voice work so he can go home and be a family man with good old Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is also conveniently having her TV come back with that Wolfpack show. So it's like, I don't know what you're thinking. Like he's fine. It's not like he's needing I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel. Don't know why he would just try to pull that shit. Like, oh yeah, it's like, what they think, like, oh, it's Freddie Prinze Jr. That'll be easy. He's like, no, dude, I got other ways to make money. It's fine.
I mean, let's not forget, the residual checks from his book, Fred on Fred, The Many Faces of Me. If anybody gets that, I love you.
Look, I'll say it. He was a good Fred, in my opinion.
That movie was perfectly cast, and anyone who says otherwise can go fuck themselves.
Look, the live action Scooby-Doo films, both of them, I stand by. Most of the first one, but I do like the sequel also.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. I can tell you that Freddie Prinze Jr., they won't have him for like, I don't know, I'll see you next summer or whatever the fuck they end up calling it.
Yeah, they've already used I Still Know and I Always Know, so I don't know what they're going to use next.
I forgot what you did last summer.
I'll never forget what you did last summer.
That's pretty good. You might want to trademark that.
If this happens and that's the title I see on the big screen, I'm going to be pissed.
Oh yeah, buy the website domain now.
You're going to see me in that theater. All of a sudden, just me going, God damn it! Like making a scene in the theater.
There's no way it's getting a theatrical release. Let's be honest.
Oh, it's getting one.
No way.
Oh yeah, mark my words.
Well, back to Williamson. He was inspired to write Scream after watching a news story about a real life serial killer, Danny Rolling, the Gainesville Ripper. Rolling murdered 5 students in Gainesville, Florida, over a span of 4 days in August of 1990. When arrested, he confessed to raping several victims, committing an additional triple homicide in Shreveport, Louisiana, and also trying to kill his own father. The total body count was 8. He was tried and convicted in 1994 and executed by lethal injection in 2006. I love that he just immediately started confessing to a whole bunch of other shit. Like, they had him on murder, and he's like, oh, and yeah, there was these rapes. I tried to kill my dad.
Yeah.
Go talk to cops in Shreveport.
I traveled all the way to Shreveport to murder people. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, this guy was out of his fucking mind and executed in 2006. But at the time, he was in prison. And Williamson saw that on the news and was like, huh, well, what if a young woman was alone in a house and taunted by a killer over the phone? That could be an interesting story. So Williamson started putting that together, called it Scary Movie. I know, right? Kind of funny how that all ended up.
Yeah, right. That's a whole thing. I'm sure we'll get into a little bit here, but that's a whole thing. It's pretty funny.
Williamson went to Palm Springs to hammer out his script. I love the option of like, oh, I've got to write this script. I'm going to go to Palm Springs.
Well, I mean, hey, man, he was making that Dawson's Creek money at that time.
Yeah, that's true. So he hammered out a script in Palm Springs. He also wrote 5-page outlines for 2 potential sequels, Scary Movie 2 and Scary Movie 3. The script was bought by Dimension Films, which was owned by up-and-coming production moguls Bob and Harvey Weinstein. You may remember them.
You may remember this studio.
Dimension Films.
You might still see their logo when you watch the first 4 Scream movies.
Yeah, when you're watching a horror, a genre film made in like 2005, this might be a logo on there.
It's a good chance. They were, to their credit, they were prolific with coming out with shit at that time. They seem to really hate horror, but they came out with a lot of fucking horror films in that company.
It was like a hate fuck relationship. They hated horror, but they needed it. They got money for it. They knew it was success. They knew it was successful, so they were like, "Ugh, fine."
Yeah, fine. We'll release something so we can make more money.
Wes Craven was approached to direct by Bob Weinstein, who knew that Craven was a master at bringing horror and comedy to life together on screen in a believable way. Craven had already been interested, was trying to bid on the project himself, so everybody kind of was like, okay. But of course, at the time, Craven was also like, "Is this all I am? Am I just a horror clown dancing at the foot of the producers? Is that all I am?" So he had a bit of an existential, screaming out in the rain, "Who am I?" moment. And thankfully, he figured it out. He was worried. He's like, "I've only made horror films. Is this, can I do anything else?"
I have, and look, this is kind of bad, and mostly because of the monsters that the Weinsteins were. But for some reason, I just had the image of them with Wes Craven room going, "Dance for me, Mikey, dance."
Oh, Jesus.
I know, and I'm like, God, they just had to be monsters to make that joke so less funny. But God damn it.
But you make very successful horror films mostly, since the 70s, and that's pretty much all you make. The only non-horror film he really made was 99's Music of the Heart. So everything before that.
It is one of those things with Wes Craven where, like, I get where he's coming from. Like, obviously you want to branch out, and it's not like he's the first horror director to have that moment. We've obviously seen it in more recent times with, like, Rob Zombie has always expressed interest in branching out, but, like, let's be honest, his name is Rob Zombie. I'm saying this as someone who absolutely loves all his music and a good chunk of his movies, so I'm just saying you're not going to see that on an Academy Award-winning film anytime soon.
That'd be beautiful.
That would be actually kind of amazing.
Rob Zombie does like a Holocaust drama that's like super tasteful, and he wins Best Director. He goes up there in his like horror cowboy getup at his concerts. It's like, "I want to thank the Academy." That'd be the best day ever.
He just was like, "Dracula, yeah." Oh God, the fucking internet would blow its fucking mind at that thought. But obviously, he's expressed another big one who did break out. Eli Roth obviously kind of had his touch with it with some more mainstream non-horror stuff recently. He's luckily going back for the Thanksgiving movie that I'm beyond excited that he is finally making. Yeah, if you haven't heard the Thanksgiving trailer in Grindhouse, he's finally turning it into a fucking movie. It's happening. It's been getting cast. Patrick Dempsey's in it for some reason. It's Spyglass Media, randomly, the same company that did Scream, picked it up recently. It's happening. Like, I cannot wait. But
he said Dempsey.
I don't know why he's in the movie. I saw that, I was like, why is he in this fucking movie? Yeah. But we've seen it happen, right? They want to float. Eventually they come back because they either love it, all the studios, audiences do it. I do think it kind of sucks. It's kind of like when a comedian wants to do something serious and audience is like, "No, you're a comedian." Like, again, people, like, it's okay if they do something different. Like, at the end of the day, you can still go back for these horror directors to the horror films, for a comedian to the comedies. Like, those aren't being taken away from you. You can go back to those. It's fine. What's wrong with letting them experiment and try something out? So I get the frustration Wes Craven was having. A lot of other horror directors, have. Obviously, like, look at James Wan. He's one of the biggest name horror directors around. but he still was taking the time to get outside and play in different sandboxes. Obviously, he did Furious 7, and the recent, the two Aquaman movies. So I say let them fucking have their fun sometimes.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to be pigeonholed either. People like to experiment, see what else they're capable of, and that's not, just in creative, in the creative world. People do that with their careers. People do that with the place they're living. If you're just, if you just kind of stay in your lane your entire life, and you don't, you never leave your town, you never, try new things. Like it's a boring, miserable life. And when you're a creative, that's staying in one genre or staying in one franchise, that's the creative equivalent of never leaving your town. So you want to branch out there. You want to see what else you're capable of. You want to create. And I would never stifle anybody's desire to create. I don't get why some people do that.
Yeah. And to me, like, if you let them do it, a lot of times when they do eventually find their way back to kind of like what they're known for, it's usually better for it. For me, James Wan stepping out of filing, kind of letting go of the Conjuring franchise directing wise, and doing like Furious 7 and the Aquaman movies. Because of that, when he came back to horror, we got Malignant, which to me was fucking great. I loved Malignant a lot. So it's like, let them step out, because then when a lot of times they come back, we get a much more recharged. They're much more in the game because they're not feeling burnt out anymore because they had that time outside the sandbox and to do something different. And they're like, hey, now I want to go back. Now I'm interested in going back and doing this. So I say let them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the best example of this recently is Jamie Lee Curtis. She started out in horror. She became, one of the notable scream queens. She did a bunch of horror movies. Then in the 80s, she started branching out into comedies, started doing stuff like Trading Places, A Fish Called Wanda, then, did a True Lies with Arnold, Freaky Friday remake. Like she became, she branched out. She tried other stuff. And then she came back to Halloween in a big way. And then, did Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now she's an Oscar winner. And, sometimes people just need to test the waters, see what else they can do. And I like that. I like when people do that.
Yeah, to me it makes better artists. You know what I mean? And the reason I say like the comedy things, I know people that when I say that, I'm usually talking about Adam Sandler nowadays. So many people are like, I don't want to watch Uncut Gems because he's not being funny. Okay, well, what do you want to keep watching these subpar mediocre comedies he did? And no offense to Sandler, we've established when we did our Waterboy episode on our old phase of the podcast. I do like the guy. He seems like a nice guy, and I do like a lot of his comedies. But like, let's be honest, for a while there, most of his comedies were mediocre. And so for me, like him stepping out saying, like, let me do something serious like Spanglish or Punch Drunk Love every so often, or recently with Uncut Gems, is like, yeah, no, like, yeah, because that was the exciting stuff for me. Finally, that's me going like, oh my god, finally, like he's doing something exciting and it's outside of his wheelhouse, and I'm really into it. And in turn, like when he has gone back to comedy, from what I've heard at least, like his stuff like murder mystery and stuff, it's not bad. I've heard people be like, oh no, those are good movies. So it sounds like it does help him out. And when he does go back to comedy after that, he tends to make better fucking comedies.
If you're a sadist, Uncut Gems is pretty funny.
Jesus Christ.
No, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. People got to recharge their batteries, and, they tend to go back. People don't usually, stay away. They always come back to their roots. They just come back with a more worldly knowledge of other genres and other things.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited for like. Sorry, that's why I'm excited for like Eli Roth coming back. He had his break. He did Death Wish. He did House with a Clock in Its Walls. He is about to be, in this video game revival we're having. He directed the Borderlands movie that's coming out at some point. So he has all that under his belt. He did his big studio stuff, and now he's like, hey, not like being forced to, not because he's down on his luck. He's like, I want to come back and do a fucking Eli Roth horror film. Let's go. And I'm excited. I'm like, hell yeah. Fuck yeah. You're coming back. You're giving us a horror film, like a lean, mean Eli Roth, hopefully without some of the more problematic script stuff from your earlier works. Film, like, let's go. Like that's when I get excited,
Yeah. Yeah. And Wes Craven ultimately, that passed, and he did Scream, and it would be the Weinstein brothers who would change the movie's title to Scream. And everyone was on board for that because they were the money, and you don't say no to the money.
No, especially the Weinsteins. They made a point to get their way.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, that it's a whole different podcast.
So a bit about the cast. We got Nev.
I'm gonna say whole separate thing one day.
Yeah, that'll be we might have to do a few episodes on that nightmare.
Yeah.
Nev Campbell was cast as Sidney Prescott. Campbell at the time was a lead on the TV series Party of Five. Some of her other work includes The Craft, Wild Things. She had a recurring role in House of Cards. But, she'll always be Sidney Prescott. This is the role she's going to be remembered for. Regrettably, they would production would not meet her desired rate of pay for Scream 6, so she sat that one out. But she's still there in spirit. They bring her up all the time. She's loved in that one. She's just like, nope, I'm not coming to New York. This isn't my problem.
Yeah, I love how like last week she's like, I gotta be down there, and this was like, not my problem. But look on the topic of that, like, because obviously, when that happened, people had their say about like, oh, she's being selfish, blah blah. No, she was absolutely, as far as I'm concerned, in the right. I 100 like I know a lot of the cast, all the crew supported her decision. Like they were actually quite against the higher ups at the studios that were kind of that fumbled this hard on that one. She has a point. She's been tied to this franchise. And don't get me wrong, nothing against like obviously stuff she's doing outside the franchise. I know a lot of people like Wild Things for at least guys for different reasons, and we don't have to talk about that. We'll keep it on the download, guys. It's fine. But like she is the face of this franchise. Like she's people when they think Scream, she's one of the first things that pops up in people's heads. So it makes sense that she wants a certain amount of money. It absolutely makes sense that she's like, look, I have been a part of this franchise since the beginning. I am the star of this franchise. Like, this is what I need to get paid to be, compensated for this movie. And the fact that they were trying to be like, no, we're going to lowball that. It's like, yeah, no, I'm totally with her. And essentially, then if you don't think I'm that important a part of this franchise, I don't need to be in the movie. I'm out. Like, hell yeah. Don't let them have that power. Do not let them have that fucking power.
No, she doesn't need this. They need her. Or maybe they don't. I mean, Scream 6 was a big hit.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I'm with her as well. Know your value, fight for your value. I believe that in any career you have.
Yeah, so I'm down. And it was sad. It's kind of like, obviously it's kind of funny because week before that we had Creed 3, the first one without Stallone as Rocky. And on one hand, am I sad to not see these like legacy that are tied to it in them? I mean, yes. At the same time, one day, and I was talking about with some guys at work about it. One day these franchises will continue long after they're in real life, these actors have passed. And not to get like too grim or anything, but like it will. I mean, always to me, the prime example of that is the James Bond franchise. It's obviously on well past, Sean Connery's, death, and many other Bond actors that have, sadly passed away. And what have they done? They've just recasted. I'm not saying they're going to recast obviously in Scream or these franchises, but eventually they're going to continue with a new cast well past these actors. So eventually it's going to happen. Like we might as well get used to the idea that they won't always be in a fucking Scream movie, or Stallone won't always be in a Rocky universe film.
Yeah, the IP exists as its own thing at this point with these big multi-million-dollar franchises, and they're going to be alive for generations with actors, maybe a reboot, maybe a requel, maybe a retelling, maybe a adjacent. You never know, but
yeah,
that's just how films work.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you want to watch the ones with these actors you love, they still exist. You can still go back and watch all the Rocky films with Stallone. You can still go back and watch Power Screams with Nev Campbell. They exist. You can go back. I literally watched the original for this podcast, and guess who was in it? Nev Campbell, because it's not like you can change a movie that's already at. Well, okay.
How many times is George Lucas going to come up in this episode?
Well, and then I said Rocky. I was like, oh shit, the fucking Trago cut. Rocky 4.
It's literally just no more Polly's robot. That's the whole. I
heard those R scenes he actually adds into it.
Oh, I heard it was just like, I cut the robot. You're welcome.
No, there's other scenes he adds into it.
I'll have to check that out then.
Yeah, but okay. So either way, the original film still exists. You can still go back and enjoy them, right? So
yeah. Well, moving on, we got Courtney Cox as heartless, bitchy reporter Gail Weathers, who in every single movie has a confrontation with somebody over a book she wrote about them.
She is
every time,
consistent.
all 6 movies.
She is consistent. All right, I give her credit. I did like how when they tried to punch her in the new one, she dodged like used to it, and then that fucking second one just got her. I was like, hell yeah, didn't see that one coming, Gil.
uh, she actually approached the production herself because she was interested in playing a character with an edge. Because at the time, she played Monica on the insanely popular sitcom Friends, who was this peppy, quirky, funny lady, and she was like, "I want to play a bitch." So she went to
She's
them,
good
like,
at
"Can I
it.
play Gail?"
She's really good in it. I've heard she's not like Gil at all, luckily in real life, but she's good as Gil.
Yeah, I did think it's funny every time there's always a character. It's usually Dewey who's like, "You, how could you do that to me? Like you changed." And it's like, no, she didn't. She never changed. You just keep putting insanely high expectations of goodness on this lady that she's never
I
going to live up to.
I love Dewey to death. He is. I'm with the fans. He's a great character, but my God, he could have found someone better.
Yeah, and in these new movies now, it's Sam and her sister being like, "How could you betray us like that?" It's like, is anybody going to get on board with what this chick's about? She's a journalist, a tabloid journalist who writes true crime novels in which she makes a fuck ton of speculation. It's what she does.
I thought you were gonna say a fuck ton of money because her condo in that movie was nice. I was like,
In,
you are
in
making money.
Manhattan, that's a
Yeah,
$1 million plus
up,
luxury condo.
upper West Side, as they point out, like she was living nice. So I was
Yeah,
like, she's making a shit ton of money.
yeah. I kept yelling at Ghostface like, "Oh, that's so much money. That table was expensive. Like, no, stop it."
The boyfriend was expensive. Why did you do that?
Oh, that dude that she didn't even like. What did he say? Like, your boyfriend didn't put up a fight, and she's like, "Yeah, I guess not." Like, wow, true love, huh?
It wasn't look. She's still a lady with needs, even though she's getting older. She's still a lady with needs, and that's all that guy was. A
What was his
young
name,
muscle
Gail?
man.
What was his name?
She doesn't remember. He was a young muscle man that fulfilled her needs, and that was it.
Yeah, I bet he's in her phone under like Beefcake Tuesday, and then there's Beefcake Thursday.
She doesn't have Dewey anymore. She needs something.
Uh, Skeet Ulrich was cast as Billy Loomis, Sydney's boyfriend. He had already worked with Campbell before in The Craft, and he was cast because he gave off a young Johnny Depp vibe, which, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
His career as a leading man never really took off that much, but he did return in cameo appearances as Billy Loomis in Five Cream and Scream 6.
Yeah, and I think he had a pretty good TV career. Like I think he played like a dad for one of the characters on that fucking Riverdale show on CW that's been like ongoing. I think it's just now come to its conclusion.
Yeah,
But
he was.
yeah, he was on that. So I mean, he had a thriving TV career. I think what hurt him young is that he just looked so much like a young Johnny Depp. But from what I've gathered is that admittedly Skeet Ulrich is better to work with on set than Johnny Depp is in his later career life. Um, so time and also it seems like time's been much kinder to Skeet Ulrich than it has Johnny Depp. I'm just saying, like when I saw, I was like, "There's no way that guy's in his 50s. There's no fucking way."
Well, in Five Cream and Scream 6, they are probably doing some de aging.
No, have you seen him without the DH? He still looks incredibly young for like 50 something.
Oh,
It's uncanny.
good for Skeet.
Yeah,
He got a stupid ass name, but I like
I
him as
want to know
Billy.
how. I want to know how you got that name.
I don't.
I do.
David Arquette plays Officer Dewey Riley, everyone's favorite human-sized gummy bear.
Yeah, because he's awesome. Dewey's the best.
Arquette was approached for the role of Billy. He asked to read for Dewey instead. You imagine
Really?
Arquette as Billy?
What? No, I can't. I can't see that.
They were like, you should play the hard ass killer, and he's like, I want to play the goofy cop.
'Cause
Craven liked Arquette's softer, funnier approach to the role and cast him. I guess the Dewey originally was not this kind of clueless, almost teenager idiot, but Arquette played him as this kind of, huggable cop, and they were like, you know what? it's nice to have a little beam of light in this dark movie.
Yeah. I mean, it worked out because over the years, Dewey really became like to me the heart of the franchise. Um, so it worked out in that, like, it, and they even say it in Scream 6, and it's true. They point out Dewey when Ghostface like Dewey was a fan favorite character. I'm like, he is. Fans love Dewey. Like, he is absolutely the heart of the franchise. So it worked out in their favor, and it's all because of David Arquette. Like, I remember watching Scream 2022, and when he comes back after they talk to him, and the moment like they get to the house and you hear his theme song playing, and he walks in, I remember sitting there going, "That's right, the sheriff's back in town, boys." Like, I was excited. I was like, "Yeah, Dewey's back, yes."
In case you guys didn't know this, David Arquette and Courtney Cox were married for quite a while. She was Courtney Cox Arquette for a bit. They got divorced in 2013.
Yeah, their relationship in the movie closely mirrors that of their real life. They met on Scream. They were, I think, married by the time Scream 2 or 3 rolled around. I think we're having issues by the time Scream 4 rolled around. Divorced shortly after. And then, obviously Scream 2022 acted appropriately.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened with them, but it is weird that their relationship was like similar to Dewey.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised because it seemed like they were really into each other. So I was like, I wonder what happened. But hey, life is complicated. So unfortunately, the romance was not meant to be.
And Arquette has appeared in a bunch of stuff, but Scream's going to be what he's known for as well. And I've gotten a lot of flack for this when I've said this to Scream fans, but I'm glad he's dead.
God, you son of a bitch.
Dewey tempted fate way too fucking long. You don't survive that many goddamn stab wounds.
Okay, your point.
So I'm glad he didn't survive the ones in 5 Cream.
Finally, he could have just not been stabbed in the new Scream. And
he needed to go. It's time to go.
No, you're a monster. You are a monster. How dare you?
He had like nerve damage in Scream.
I hope Ghostface is in your
in Scream 3.
I hope Ghostface is in your house right now. Okay, that's what I hope. How dare you?
No, Dewey was no. I wanted him to go.
You're a sick bastard. How dare you?
This is what this is how I've had this conversation with other people.
How dare you? You piece of shit. God. It was cheering. Like, look, what God, what the fuck? God, I'm about to just cut this off right now. We're about to just end this podcast right here. Keep it up. All right. Keep it the fuck up. With that said, I did like how they took him out in that Scream movie. I thought he went out as Dewey should have gone out, and that is a goddamn hero. All right, goddamn hero who got distracted by Gil. Why did you call him? Why? Still hurts. Also, like, I do agree with the fans that, like, look, spoilers for Scream 2022 if you haven't fucking seen it yet. It's been a year. But that was, I think, supposed to be Amber that did that one. There is no way in hell, as cool as that, like, that fucking brutal that death was, there's no way in hell she picked that man up.
Yeah, you're not really supposed to think about that in Scream, like the logistics of who's behind the costume and what they're doing.
Yeah. I was like, there's no way in hell, especially because like Arquette, one of them, for those who don't, he's a very eccentric man to say the least in real life. But he apparently wrestles, and by the time he was doing Scream, he was in the 2022 one, he was in really good shape because he's wrestling. So I'm like, there's no way in hell you picked up a Dewey that's in very good shape, apparently. And you're the Amber character. No offense to the actress. I'm not saying she's not strong, but I don't know.
She's tiny.
She was very tiny.
Matthew Lillard was cast as Stu, the sort of clown of the group. He is known mostly for playing Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. Also had a minor but significant role in the Twin Peaks revival. And
he also voices Shaggy in several of the cartoons now.
Yep, he is Shaggy. No. And yeah, he's hilarious and awesome and weird. And I like that he's gotten kind of, fans have kind of rallied behind him for several different things he does, and have just like given him a lot of support.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently he's a super good dude, and I know when he does the conventions. I mean, obviously he'll do the convention circuit on his own, but a lot of times when he does the convention circuit, he'll do it with Skeet Ulrich, and they'll have like tables next to each other, so you can get see Billy and Stu at the conventions.
That's cool.
Yeah, and yeah, no, he's awesome in this movie. To all the fans out there, he's fucking dead. Let's just let the fucking proposed Scream 3 ideal go. It's not happening. Let it go. He's dead. He is
That fucking
dead.
script hadn't leaked online, we would have gotten a really cool Scream 3.
We would have, but it did. And guess what? We didn't. We also would have had a different Scream 2, but that leaked online. So,
Damn. Well, yeah, he's dead. But
he's dead. He's not going to be the mastermind killer anytime soon, aka at all. For Christ's sakes, people.
And if you have met Stu in Scream, he's a fucking idiot. He's a follower.
Yeah, that was the whole point. I think that's what people forget. Like
Billy Loomis was the mastermind of this whole thing. Stu's just there for the likes.
I think that's what people forget big time. Like, I think actually that's probably why Scream 3 in its original incarnation would not have worked. Because people forget that Stu was a fucking follower that only wanted it because that Billy was his best friend. That was it.
Peer pressure. He's way too sensitive.
Yeah. I was like, I was like, there's no way I know he'd lead. No. Fuck no. Like, it's not in his character to do this. So no, I don't think that would have been a good idea to begin with.
Plus, we see him clearly get electrocuted.
Yes, and also, like, guys, let's be honest, they kind of kept the idea of someone orchestrating the whole thing anyway in Scream 3, and it kind of sucked. Like, it's one of the reasons I don't like Scream 3. I was just the idea of someone orchestrating the whole thing since the fucking first film, like, it's not that good. Like, I don't need
that concept always sounds good on paper, but it's never executed all that well. Like when like Spectre, Blofeld being behind the previous 3 Bond films sounds neat, but when you start thinking about it, it doesn't make a damn lick of sense.
And that's the problem, is when you start, you're like, wait a minute. None of this adds up, because basically, like, in at least the Scream universe, he was basically hoping this would even get famous enough for him to be a damn director on the Stab series. Like, what if that fucking didn't go the way he wanted, buddy? Like, then your whole plan's shot right there. Like,
comedian Jamie Kennedy was cast as Randy, the horror movie geek. Randy's rules of survival are pop culture famous now. Kennedy has also appeared in such films as Malibu's Most Wanted, Enemy of the State, Three Kings, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and Son of the Mask, which effectively tanked his career. I've always found him to be an annoying douchebag, but I like him in Scream.
I like him in Scream. Son of Mask did tank his career, and him being an annoying douchebag also tanked his career. Because the guy doesn't know how to be funny. He thinks that by being oddly insulting to anyone and everyone without any actual punchline to said, and these are air quotes, jokes, is funny, and there's a reason we don't see him anymore. And I'm happy about it, because I don't, other than Scream, I've never actually liked Jamie Kennedy anyway. So like him in Scream, and like him in Scream 2 and his little thing in Scream 3, but outside of that, okay.
The late 90s to early 2000s shock comedians like, Jamie Kennedy, Tom Green, Dane Cook. I'm so glad they're gone.
Yeah, none of them lasted. You know who did last out of that, though? The Jackass guys. I need to point that out.
Because they are legitimately funny and talented stunt guys and are actually seem like pretty decent dudes. And dare I say it, role models.
I mean, yeah, I guess. I would not have Bam be your role model currently, ladies and gentlemen. Don't let that man be your role model. But there, guys, sure.
There was this commercial at the Oscars for during the commercials, there was a new show that Johnny Knoxville and Eric Andre are doing called, like, what was it? The Prank something. I don't remember. But they did the commercial like the Ghostbusters commercial in the movie. You know, are you troubled by strange noises in the middle of the night? They did it like that, and it was so awkward. It was great. So look that up. It's like Johnny Knoxville and Eric Andre have a new show.
I gotta watch that because I usually like Eric Andre's like. 'Cause I know he's very inspired by those guys, so I usually like his shit. So I'll definitely check that out.
Rose McGowan was cast as Tatum, Sydney's best friend. She would go on to appear in the TV series Charmed after Shannon Doherty was kicked off for being a bitch.
Yep. Oh yeah.
She also became Robert Rodriguez's leading lady for a while after he left his wife for her.
Yep.
She
They're no
started
longer
Planet
together.
Terror. Yeah. She started Planet Terror, was going to star in that Red Sonja remake that never happened. And yeah, she kind of became one of the outspoken voices against misogyny in Hollywood, but everyone on the right side of this was like, please stop talking.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. Like, I'm not saying, look, real quick, not saying she didn't have like legitimate like things to say, but it was kind of funny that people were like, okay, you can shut up now. I think because like then like as she was saying shit, I think allegations against her started popping up. So they're like, wait a minute, you can't sit there and say this and then have allegations pop up and also, you know, be the reason the dude left his fucking wife and like 5 children. Rodriguez has a shit ton of children.
Yes, he does. Yeah, that's how I hate these fucking home wreckers who show up, seduce the director, take, you know, I know that I'm not saying he's not at fault. He's a fucking moron for doing that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Johnny Depp, same shit for leaving his, you know, partner for Amber Heard.
Yeah, absolutely idiots on their ends as well. They're not excused.
But the women knew what they were doing. They were trying to fuck married men. So everyone's an asshole in this equation.
Yeah.
Except for the original partner. I feel bad for them.
Yes. So now with that said, I'm sure, you know, the stuff you said about Weinstein is probably very valid. Because as we learned, that human being was a fucking monster.
Yeah. Harvey Weinstein was a monster.
Yeah. But, you know, pot Colin Keller back when apparently she was also bad. And it's why we don't see her anymore.
Finally, we've got Drew Barrymore in her brief role as Casey, the second victim, if you count Maureen Prescott. And the boyfriend. So third victim, I guess. Yeah.
At this point in the movie, technically, yes.
Yes. Barrymore is the biggest star attached to this film, which is why everyone freaked the fuck out when she was killed in the first 10 minutes. One of the biggest shocks in horror history. She approached the production herself, originally signed on to play Sydney, but unexpected commitments arose. So she had to, she wanted to be involved, but she couldn't commit to the whole movie. So they settled on a sort of pseudo cameo role in the beginning.
It was her idea when it popped up, it was like her to be like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Because people are going to assume I'm in the movie for the whole thing.
She's on the poster. Like, it set the tone for a unpredictable film. It's like, holy shit, they just killed Drew Barrymore and the movie just started. What do we do now? Everyone felt unsafe.
Yeah, like, oh shit, what are we going to do? Yeah, and her name's like one of the most prominently, like, it's not like they just hide her name, like it's on there to trick you, like, hey, look, Drew Barrymore, we got her.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's like the biggest face on the poster.
I believe so. I know she's like up front in the cast.
Yeah, I'm looking up the poster right now.
I think she might be literally the face actually in the background.
She might be, but she's like right up at the front, biggest head on the poster, apart from the big head in the background. It's very prominent. It looks like she's the main character of the movie.
Yeah,
that's fucking mean.
That is
to fuck with audiences like that. I'm impressed.
Look, unlike DC's marketing for their upcoming film, that's what you call smart marketing, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Scream has an IMDb score of 7.2, Rotten Tomatoes score of 79%. Was a massive hit, grossing about $173 million on a budget of $14 million. Pretty good. It spawned 5 sequels to date and a TV series that nobody talks about anymore because apparently it was dog shit.
Yeah, I watched the first couple episodes and quit. It was bad. Fuck that show.
Wasn't it? It was on MTV, right?
The first 2 seasons were on MTV, and they had some kind of issues with like the studios and production with the 3rd season, and eventually came out on VH1 as like Scream Resurrection, lasted one season and got canceled.
That's what happens. By the way, quick correction: that 79% has shot up to 80%. It is now, yeah, it's an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty cool. The numbers don't usually change, but here we are.
Okay, and I did read somewhere that some of the biggest issues with the TV show was again the Weinsteins being the Weinsteins.
I'm so glad they're gone.
Yeah, apparently they stepped in during production a lot. So apparently a lot of what was not originally meant to be done, and just them being them. And actually, what's interesting is that Scream was written off as a flop when it came out originally. It didn't do good its first weekend. It made no money its first weekend. Word of mouth, because this was back when films had more than a fucking initial weekend to make money. Unlike nowadays, where you better make that shit on your opening weekend. Looking at you, Ant-Man, you're making Marvel sad right now. But it actually didn't make any money like its initial weekend. Like it fucking bombed opening weekend. But word of mouth from people who saw it started to grow, and all of a sudden they saw this effect that you very rarely see in movies, where each weekend after that it was making more money, and then more money, and then more. It started to climb every single weekend, which actually ended up extending its run in theaters.
Those were the days back when a little film had an opportunity like that. Now, if you don't gross $1 billion in 3 days, you're a failure, and we move on to the next thing.
Yeah, the closest we've gotten to that, the closest we've literally gotten to that happening in more recent times was the Terrifier 2 last year. Making more and more each weekend and beating Black Adam, which, in case anyone's wondering, Dwayne Johnson still can't shut the fuck up about it. I just saw that apparently he said something else about the thing and how he feels left behind with the DCU moving forward without him.
I feel like we should all send him get well soon cards with Art the Clown on them.
Right? Why does he
I saw Black Adam.
He doesn't need Black Adam. I don't understand why he's not letting it go. He's the goddamn Rock. He doesn't need it.
It's hilarious now. Something broke, and there's a crack in the Rock.
Yeah. Dude, I haven't read, I need to read the article, but the headline was basically him just like whining about being left behind in the, announced DCU slate. I'm like, oh my God, let it the fuck go.
You can all smell what the Rock is cooking, and we don't like it.
No one likes it except him.
Critic consensus on Scream reads: horror icon Wes Craven's subversive deconstruction of the genre is sly, witty, and surprisingly effective as a slasher film itself, even if it's a little too cheeky for some. So, okay, of course. Yeah.
I like how they just
some people might not like this, and I love surprisingly effective, like it was a fucking accident.
Right. And I also like how they say like, even if it's too cheeky, as if like, yeah, that's the point, jackass. Like, it's meant to be cheeky. It's God damn it.
What is this? Some kind of amusing film for anybody to enjoy? Fuck you.
Look, we live in a world where we still have this belief that the 90s like killed horror, like that horror died in the 90s. I'm like, no, it fucking didn't. People just won't. There was plenty of horror coming out. There's so many great 90s horror films. So yeah, first off, get rid of that fucking myth, people. 90s horror did not die in the 90s. There's so much great untapped shit you just haven't seen. And yeah, like a horror film can be cheeky. It's okay. It's okay.
To paraphrase Men in Black, horror is not dead. It just went home. I don't get why this like need every few years to like horror keeps having to, justify its existence to people every few years. It's the only genre where critics have to be like, why is it still here? Prove to me why you're still here.
Dude, it's so weird. Like last year, I was seeing it last year. They're like, horror's big at the box office again. All fucking year. Because as we've established, 2022 was a really good year for horror. But I was saying, I'm like, it never went. Did we forget that like most of 2021's box office was saved by the horror films coming out that were big fucking hits and not the non-horror stuff that people were like, I'm not watching that.
Yeah, it is weird. It's I I've always enjoyed it. Clearly, audiences have always enjoyed it. It's these critics who keep like suffering severe memory loss and forgetting that other people watch
Dude,
these movies.
I can't imagine what they're going to say when Evil Dead Rise comes out next month. A film that, by the way, for those who are wondering, was supposed to be an HBO Max only release, but tested positive through the roof so well on test screenings. They were like, theatrical. This shit's going to do good. I'm sure they'll say. I'm sure whenever we finally get Final Destination 6, I know they've announced that as well. It's getting worked on. Oh, I'm sure they'll say the same thing then. If it's a big hit, like it's every fucking time they say something like this when a big hit horror film comes out.
It's always a shock. They're always like, "Can you believe it? Horror is making money." Like, yeah, I can believe it. It happened last year. It happened the year before that. It's happened the last 100 fucking years.
Yeah. Not only can I not believe it, it's really less surprising when you attach it to a fucking franchise installment.
Yeah. The sixth film in Scream's case, the fourth in Evil Dead's case. No, fifth, I guess, with the remake.
Fifth.
Yeah. So fifth. And they're going to be like, oh my God, Evil Dead is a successful franchise. Like, yeah, we know that.
Stop it. It's why it's still getting theatrical releases. God damn it.
No other, like, you don't hear that with like Star Wars or, Fast and Furious or Marvel. They're always like, yet another success. But with horror, they're like, can you believe it? Holy shit. What a upset.
Yeah. If anything, can we apply that to Fast and Furious more often? Can we question how we're still going? But horror's a surprise every time. Not the one about the fucking racing family that's just a fucking family that's of international spies now. No, horror's still the fucking upset people.
Yeah, it's got a racist vibe, but I know it's not about race. You know what I mean? There's someone's getting like persecuted here. I don't know who it is, but it feels like there's an ism here that I can't quite place.
It's so weird, dude. It's so fucking weird. I seriously, like, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because okay, March we still have that DC film that might be good. Who knows what fucking DC. We got John Wick 4. Oh my god. I'll say it, Dungeons and Dragons, fuck off, ladies and gentlemen. That shit looks good, okay? So we
fuck
don't have
ladies and gentlemen. I love how rude and polite that is.
Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons looks good, okay? Come at me.
Well, when John Wick 4 comes out and is inevitably going to be a big success, nobody's going to be like, can you believe it? John Wick 4 was a hit, even though the first 3 were hits and everyone was looking forward to this.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so we have several films that no one's going to be surprised are hits, especially John Wick 4. But when Evil Dead Rise comes out in April, they're going to be like, can you believe this shit? Evil Dead Rise? It's a huge hit. Would you look at that? I'm like, yeah, no shit. There's been like 5 of these films all released in theaters. Like, no, okay.
Evil Dead is a very successful IP with video games, comic books, a TV show, cultural significance, put Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell on the map. But everyone's going to be shocked.
And you know what's funny? Even when they make like with Chucky, Child's Play made the transition to TV. You still saw it at first with some critics. Can you believe Chucky is good? And holy shit, it's shining on TV. Like, no, I color me shocked that when you have the original creator still attached, that he was able to successfully make the transition to TV. Color me fucking shocked, critics. Oh my god.
You know what I think we should do? I think we should start reacting that way to standard like franchise tentpoles. Like when Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out, I think we should do an episode where we're like, holy shit, what a complete upset shock. Can you believe it's a huge hit? Who would have thought? It's only coming off the heels of $2 billion successes. Like, yeah, whoa.
Oh god. Yeah, right. Like, it's funny. You can't do that with DC. Like, we can't do that with Shazam. It's like,
we'll be legitimately shocked if Shazam 2 actually does make a profit.
Well, I'll be like, oh, okay. People did want to see it. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I'll be like, Oh yeah, no shit. It's fucking two hugely. It's the last one in this fucking trilogy. It's two hugely. Yeah, okay. Color me shocked.
I just want some consistency. I mean, a successful franchise is a successful franchise regardless of genre. So why are we doing this with horror genres, like horror franchises, and not the other ones?
Yeah,
Either everything's a hit equally, or shut the fuck up.
they won't. When Saw fucking X, I know it's Saw 10, but I never like calling the 10th films 10 if they use the X. If they use the Roman numeral, I always call it X. So Fast and Furious X is Fast and Furious X. Don't give a shit.
After Josh called it socks, that's all I can see it as. So.
But yeah, when Saw X comes out, if this one actually latches, because admittedly the last two attempts to revitalize haven't been like the biggest box office successes, but watch critics do the same goddamn thing.
Viral, admittedly, I blame COVID for that. I think this one will be a hit. It's coming out in October, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's Halloween. Must be Saw. So it's gonna be a hit, and they're gonna be like a horror movie in October, the 10th of a franchise. Oh my god. Vegas odds. No way.
I hope critics are not betting people, because they would lose all the time when it came to horror.
Never bet on red. That's their motto. They've lost so much money.
They don't understand it either. They're like, I don't know how I keep losing.
Yeah, as they're doubling down on the next movie, they're like, I just don't get it. I don't know why I keep losing all this money. I thought, oh yeah, red. Yeah, of course, always. Stay away from that. Oh my god. Yeah, it's a trend we noticed, and it's bothered us, and there it is. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh god. Critics, just stop acting surprised.
Oh my god. The first 5 Scream films are all currently streaming on Paramount Plus. If you all haven't seen them and you want to watch them, Scream 6 is in theaters as we speak and doing great. It's a huge shock, but it's doing great.
Like, oh yeah, that whole rant. It's actually beating expectations too. I know you just had this rant, but it's actually exceeded expectations, and it's the franchise best opening.
Oh boy. Oh, that was fun. Oh, okay. With that, let's give some awards to Scream, the original Scream.
Are we going to do that other thing we talked about before or after the awards?
We're gonna do that after.
Okay.
We're gonna close with that.
Ah, gotcha. Huh. You guys thought I was going to ruin it. I'm not.
What do you mean that? No, I'm not gonna do it.
No spoilers here.
We have 4 awards, the same awards we had from Oscar Sunday, though we have changed the name of some of these because now I'm in charge. I'm just kidding. I ran the. We worked this out together. Right. We worked this out together. I promise.
I was about to text Austin. Austin, you might want to put some control over here.
We have the Quentin Tarantino Award for the best line of the movie.
Okay, we're keeping that one.
We have the Thomas Newman Award for the best music moment.
Whoa.
Yeah. I love Morricone, but there's something about Thomas Newman that just speaks to my soul. I wanted to represent him.
Nice. Got it. Go on.
We had the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for the best performance.
Okay, kept that one.
He's the ultimate character actor. Wouldn't feel right to have anybody else be there. And we have the John Carpenter Award for the best scene of the movie.
Did you do that just to make me happy?
No. I also wanted to make Josh happy.
We don't need to make Josh happy.
No, I truly, John Carpenter is an amazing, underrated director who I feel never got his proper due by Hollywood. So I wanted to give him the best due I could.
Nice. I like that. On the heels of him, Twitter congratulating Jamie Lee Curtis. For those who didn't see that, he did congratulate Jamie Lee Curtis, which was very sweet.
Yeah, that was nice. I love, Jamie Lee's win, thanking the horror fans at the Oscars. That was nice.
Yes.
Like when the lepers weren't allowed to go to the King's banquet. That's what it feels like sometimes. They're like, I want to thank the peasants, but don't come near the table.
Oh god, I'm so glad we don't have an audience. And oh god, we can't have like that Kate Blanchett fucking question on Graham Norton moment with the metal community. No one's coming at us on that one for comparing horror fans to.
No, I'm saying the Oscars. That's what it feels like with the Oscars. Like, I don't think that. They think that.
This is true. They do think that.
Yeah. We can say whatever we want because we're part of the group.
This is true.
So why don't you start us out with your Tarantino award, your best line? What's the best line from Scream?
This is very tough because there's a lot of great lines. I did think about putting the all the rules. That's a really long line. That is a great. I do think the first one's still the best when it comes to laying out the rules. Obviously I like hearing the ones they had in the sequels, but first ones. But the one I picked is the scene in the video store, and I picked it because it is, like, to me, one of the best Randy moments ever. It was in the video store when he's talking to Stu, and at one point, as he's stocking stuff up, he kind of breaks a little bit, and he goes on this little rant here where he's like, the police are always off track with this shit. If they watch Prom Night, they save time. There's a formula to it, a very simple formula. Everyone's a suspect, and it's. Admittedly, I can't believe I'm saying this. Jamie Kennedy does deliver that line better, but he's actually acting for once. But yeah, I've always really liked that line because it speaks. Yes, this is a slasher film, but it's a slasher film in a whodunit mystery, and to me, it's just like the perfect moment of like the inner like horror fanboy in you having like, guys, like, come on, like, they're following a horror film. No one's safe. Everyone's a suspect here. Like, we can't trust anybody because we don't know who the fuck it is. Like, it's a really great Randy moment. And I've always liked that line.
It's made even better by the fact that, upon rewatches, he's saying that to the killer. He's saying that to Stu.
Yeah, to Stu. And I love like Stu's reactions when he yells, everyone's a suspect. They have that shot of like everyone kind of looking around and Stu just doing like that little like like, just Matthew Lillard, what he can do with his body and facial expressions is some of the best shit ever. And like the things he does is like seem like his friend's cuckoo.
Yeah, that's a good line. My favorite, I just want to say my favorite line in the entire franchise is in Scream 2, and it's a Randy moment. It's when Randy is called by Ghostface in the courtyard, like at the quad, and Ghostface says something like, you're kind of a nerd or something like that, and Randy just goes, fuck you, like super loudly and aggressively, like unprompted, like, whoa. Ghostface pushed the button.
That is a good one. That's a good one. Randy had some good lines in the sequel too, honestly.
Oh. Yeah. Well, maybe one day we can give awards to Scream 2. So before I get my one line, I do have an honorary award just because I love this line so much. It's when towards the end of the movie, when Billy and Stu have been stabbing each other, and Stu's bleeding out, and Billy goes to go find Sydney, and he like throws the phone at Stu, and Stu just goes, "You hit me with the phone, dick."
I want to say a good chunk of that shit was like improv by Matthew Lillard, if I read correctly.
I believe it. That's not the line I picked though, because I
know. Sorry, real quick. I know the line when like he says my parents are gonna be so mad at me. That was indeed improv. That was not scripted. He just fucking said that randomly, and they were like, "Okay."
He did such a great job just playing a complete fucking nut who was just on board with anything. You didn't really know what his motives were. He was just crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because I had seen the Scooby-Doo live action film first, because obviously like I could watch that before I watched Scream, and and I remember when I watched this, I was like, "Hey, it's Shaggy!" And my God, towards the end, I'm like, Shaggy's a fucking psycho in this movie. Jesus.
When we get to what's in the box, I have some Scooby-Doo references to throw out. That's really funny. So the line I went with, same scene actually, when Sydney reacts to their plan and says, "You sick fucks, you've seen one too many movies." And Billy blurts out, "Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative." I've always loved that.
Yeah, as he's like stabbing fucking Stu too much.
It's such a great line.
Look, to
And
Skeet Ulrich's credit, he delivers these lines great at the end. When he like reveals himself, he is fucking so much fun to watch.
we see, every Ghostface in the next 5 films, they're built off of Billy Loomis's legacy. So in a way, movies make psychos more creative. Each Ghostface gets more creative because of the movie beforehand. So it's like
And
it's a building block.
I would argue Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich's performance also sets the tone for all the actors are, because to me, I've always noticed rewatching these films, the actors like I merely like look, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I do think a lot of times the actors get real campy with the reveals, but I say it in the best possible ways. I love how over the top they'll get. But to me, it's always because they're trying to obviously match Billy and Stu, who to me to this day are like the perfect fucking, it's just the most perfect reveal, perfect performances from those two guys. Like they fucking crushed it.
Well, and also when you are, when the Ghostface killer is revealed in each movie, you got to remember this is a person who is perfectly okay with murdering countless people in creative, weirdo ways, and also stalking them with phone calls. So it's not going to be a very solemn, I am the killer, you'll never catch me. It's going to be a woohoo, look what I'm capable of, kind of wacky shit, because that's the kind of person we're dealing with here.
Yeah, and the one time they did kind of try to do that, I think with like Scream 3, where Roman Bridger was a little bit more calm. It was like, this doesn't really work as well. I need him to be a bit more over the top.
Yeah, this is, if you're going to kill people based off horror movie logic, own that shit.
Yeah, actually one of my favorites to this day with that is actually Scream 4 when Emma Roberts fucking does all that after she does her master plan, does all the shit to make herself look like what happened. One of the best fucking moments of just showing an unhinged person doing what they need to look like they are the victim.
Yes, indeed. All right, the Thomas Newman Award, the best music moment. What is the best music moment in this movie for you?
Look, there's two great music in this entire series. There is Dewey's theme song, which is always fills my heart with joy when I hear it. It's just there's something about it that's so sweet and really speaks to the amazingness of the character. And fuck you, still, you piece of shit. And the other one, you keep that secret to yourself, I swear. And the other one is obviously what's kind of become like the unofficial theme song to the franchise, Red Right Hand by Nick Cave. And so with that said, my best music moment was the first usage of this song when the town has having to get ready for curfew, and just the juxtaposition of the song, the lyrics in those songs, and then seeing how the town's having it's legitimately scared. Like it's the first time. Think about we both grew up in a small town. Things like that are very serious in small towns because people have this idea that things like that don't happen in small towns. That's a city problem. That's not a small town problem. So I guess to me, like it really resonated in that regard, having that music play with those lyrics and the people reacting the way they are, because it's like, no, that is how someone in a small town would be. You'd be terrified because shit like that doesn't happen. It's a town that everybody knows everybody. If you if you're a teenager, you lose your virginity on a Friday, everyone's going to fucking know on goddamn Monday. Like that's just how that shit works. All right. This for my best music when you first hear this song in juxtaposition with what's happening in the town.
It's kind of funny. By movie logic, that shit happens in small towns way more than it happens in the city.
Yeah.
I picked the same thing. Yeah, Red Right Hand it's the Scream theme song. It is. It's in all 6 movies, always in a great moment. And in the first movie, it sets the tone for the first Woodsboro massacre, where everyone's just like, who did this and how do I what do I do to stay safe? And everyone's just kind of looking at each other a little differently. And that song was all throughout the 90s. That shit was in Dumb and Dumber. That shit was in Hellboy. That song, it's the theme song for Peaky Blinders. Like it's everywhere.
I mean, it's a good song itself. Like it works.
Yeah.
I would say honestly, and I'll say this: my best usage of both that song and Dewey's theme was actually in the Scream 2022. When they had the song playing on the car, right when Kyle Gallner, who was severely underutilized in that movie, but hey, he had smiles, so good for him. Gets his death, and it plays, and the car was my favorite usage of it. And then at the same time, Dewey's theme also in that film. When again, I know we talked about it earlier, but when it's they convince him to go one more time, and he's going to the beginning, and the song plays, and you're like, yes, the sheriff's in town. We got this. We can take this. And then we get his tragic death. You fucking bastard.
Nobody can survive that many stabs.
Don't try to justify your monsterness. You're probably gonna be a fucking Ghostface killer. You know what? No, I don't trust you. You know what? I don't trust you anymore. You're now number one on my suspect list.
Oh, well. If I was, you would absolutely be within the first 3 victims.
I would kill you first. Preemptively.
Jesus.
It kill me if I just take out all the suspects.
No one will notice if there's no one to notice. Jesus Christ. The PSH, the Best Performance Award. Who takes this? Who wins the movie?
This one was hard for me. I actually had a toss up between 2. I reveal my 2. No, I'll decide. So I wrote down Roger Jackson, aka Ghostface himself, and Matthew Lillard. Nothing, like I said, Skeet Ulrich does great thing, but I think most of his greatness is at the end of the film. Between those 2, I'm going to go Matthew Lillard because while I love Jackson as Ghostface, I actually think he's gotten better with each film because they've allowed him to have a lot more fun with it. And obviously he's been voicing the character so long, he understands it a lot more intimately over the years. To the point that he's having a lot more fun with certain lines in like the 5th and the 6th film. But I gotta give this one Matthew Lillard. Like, this is a guy that from the very first, he grabs your attention with his just goofiness and his he has there's something about him that he has a screen presence that like he draws himself to you when he's in something. And you love him at first because he's just a goofy friend that makes you laugh. And everything from when Randy's explaining the rules and he's like, never say I'll be back because you won't be back. You're never back. And immediately, you want a beer? Yeah, sure. I'll be back. And he makes you laugh. And then when the big twist comes in, and obviously it's revealed that he is one of the 2 killers, he commits so hard to over the top zaniness. One of the things I love I know you didn't have a chance to watch it. I know you have kind of other stuff that kind of happens, fine. But in the doc, I forget which one is you. The Still Screaming or Scream the Inside Story. I forget which one. But both documentaries are on the set that has all 3 films. If if you're a physical media person, but he talks about that scene quite a bit at length, and everything he did. And he mentioned how it's hard for him to watch that scene now because there's that scene where he's yelling and spit comes out. And he's like, anytime I see it, I just see the spit stuck on my fucking mouth. But he does when he goes over the top for it, and like I said, the lines he improvised with the whole my mom's going to kill me. To me, I always thought, yes, Billy's obviously crazy, but to me, Stu was crazier because Billy, yes, he's crazy, but he was, obviously things happened that pushed him to that point. That already took a crazy mind and pushed it, right? Whereas Stu, the reason I think he's crazier is because, like I said, it's his peer pressure. He's the wild card in this because he's just look, I just want to do what my friend's doing, and I'm having fun doing it. But then he has that moment, like I said, when he says that line, "When they'll be mad at me," he becomes like a child and starts to cry. To me, he just really commit and fully sells an absolutely unhinged psychopath.
Yeah, I agree. I also went Matthew Lillard for the same reasons you just laid out. Because, you get the feeling throughout the movie that he's a weirdo. He's a bit of an unhinged kind of, wacky high school guy. But then when he's the killer, it's very much, oh, that's why he was so nuts. Because the whole time he's almost laughing to himself, they don't know. They don't know. And then he gets to be, it was me. And it's just, it works because you don't know what the hell he's going to do. The way I saw it was, Stu's crazy. Billy's evil.
Mm-hmm.
He's here to hurt Sydney. That's why he did this. Stu's just I want to kill everything because I have fun doing it.
Yes.
And I love it. Death by TV is hilarious. I love when he gets stabbed too deep and he's like, I'm feeling a little woozy here. Like, just, it's crazy. He's nuts. And yeah, I love Matthew Lillard, and I wish he'd gotten more acclaim as an actor because he's great. He's fantastic. He's 100%.
He's a fantastic actor. He's apparently a super nice dude from what I've heard from a lot of people. And it sucks he hasn't got much acclaim, but luckily, the horror community being the horror community has fully embraced him since Scream. And Scooby-Doo, and Scooby-Doo, because there's a lot of horror fans that were by Scooby-Doo. I know for a fact this information. Don't try to look this up.
Did you ever watch the movie Looney Tunes Back in Action?
Yeah.
You remember the bit in the commissary where Shaggy the cartoon is talking to Matthew Lillard and is like pissed about his representation about like, you made me look like a total goof. Like if you mess with me in the sequel, I'm coming after you. I always thought that was so funny.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, no, luckily the horror community has embraced him. Like I said, he does the convention circuit. He's always like, horror community loves him. So he's found a home within at least the horror community that's been like, no, dude, we love you. Like, we want to see you do good.
That's good. All right. Finally, the John Carpenter Award. Best scene of the movie. What to you is the best scene of Scream?
Oh, look, this was tough. Okay, I had a few ideals. Obviously the iconic opening scene is great. The scene where Randy lays out the rules at the house party. I had even like the bathroom scene in the school when Sydney is getting chased by Ghostface is a great little scene. A lot of great stuff. Ultimately, I went with the climactic reveal. And I went with that because to me, and I'm saying this as someone who loves this franchise and always looks forward to what the reveal is going to be, it's never been topped since Scream. As good as the reveals have been since in a lot of the sequels, like I said, there's a lot of things I like with the minus like probably Scream 3, a lot of things I like with each of the reveals and all the sequels. This is the best one. And for all the reasons we've stated, it's like, to me, it's been the least obvious in the killers. Admittedly, as much as I like the two new Radio Silence ones, I know a lot of people have kind of made that complaint with the past two ones. Which, I mean, yeah, but I still like them with that, even with that. To me, yeah, this was the one where like you really didn't, because the film did a good job of making you kind of go, well, like maybe it's not Billy because he got cleared in the jail, and then you see him get stabbed supposedly. So you're like, man, they do a good job of really making you go, who the fuck is it? Like, who? Then they do the big bomb that it's not one, it's two Ghostface. And then, like I said, the performances from all the actors, even Nev Campbell, all the actors involved makes for one the most riveting scenes in the whole movie, all around. So the climactic reveal scene in this one to me is the gold standard Scream set right out the gate with this first film that they've come close to quite a bit. I'll give them credit; they've come real close. They have never been able to top.
Yeah, it's a great moment. I had a feeling you were going to go with that, so I went a little different. I chose Tatum's death scene.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah, just from the start. The fact that she is completely unfazed by Ghostface because she's like, oh, it's probably my boyfriend or Randy being an asshole, not, the killer's here. She's holding a bunch of beer. I love don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
Yeah.
And then he has one of the most inventive deaths. I've never seen anybody get killed by a garage door before.
No. And look, to all the people that are out there going like, I don't like that death because it's so unrealistic. Fuck off. It's a horror film. Like, fuck off. Jesus Christ. It's a goddamn half the deaths in slasher films are amazingly unrealistic. I don't care because it's a horror movie.
You know how hard it is to physically rip people in half? Pretty difficult. You can't.
Pretty hard. Yeah, we know that in real life that garage door wouldn't even open because they have a whole weight thing on the weight safety thing on garage doors to make sure things like that don't happen. But dear God, did it make for a cool death? All right,
yeah.
Drop your realistic standards out the goddamn window, you assholes.
Yeah, I know it's a huge shock, but Scream was a success. With or without you, it was a success.
I had to say that because I've literally seen on Twitter like people talk about that, and someone was like, "Look, hot take. I don't like the garage death because I'm really listening." Someone went, "Oh God, thank God I'm not the only one." I'm like, "Who are you people? It's a
Well,
fucking horror film.
I think, you know what? Let's Mythbusters this shit. We'll throw that person into a garage door and we'll try and kill them with it. Even if they don't die, I bet it'll hurt like a motherfucker.
What's funny, it's like the same people that will bemoan the Scream franchise for not having the most creative kills to begin with. Because mainly it's just a lot of stabbing people in the movies. But I'm like, wait, so you complain that they don't have creative deaths, but then when they throw one in there, you bitch that it's unreal. What is wrong with? Can we just be happy, people? Can we just be happy in a movie?
Y'all sound fun. Y'all sound like so much fun to talk to at parties. But yeah, I also love that no one went back into the garage to get a beer. Isn't that where the beer was?
That was where the beer was, and apparently she was the only one that could get it. And after that, there was no more beer.
And everyone stayed, decided to watch Halloween. That's not how parties work.
No. I've been to parties. The movie does not stop the party.
I mean, admittedly, Stu could have like moved the body and then
Yeah, I mean, he could have, yeah.
probably what happened. But yeah, I love that death. It's creative. It's also fucking hilarious, the parody they do of it in Scary Movie.
Oh my god, yes.
I won't get into it because this is not that podcast, but the first 3 Scary Movies are funny as shit.
Yeah, they are. I'll give you that.
Well, that about covers it for the awards. Yeah, Scream, fun to give awards to. There's a lot of options in this movie.
Oh yeah, it's hard to pick these.
Yes, indeed. And with that, let's check out Letterboxd and take a look at what's in the box.
Woo!
What's in the fucking box? Give me the gun.
So, if you are familiar with Beyond the Bad, you'll know that this segment is the one where we go into Letterboxd and I try to find several funny, amusing reviews of the movie at hand, try to make co-hosts laugh. Letterboxd is a really fun social media site for film fans. I recommend you check it out. It's free to use and really fun. Scream is sporting a 4.1 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. That's fucking good. That's near perfect.
That's a far cry from how doing this on Beyond the Bad and all the bad Letterboxd reviews.
I know it's really hard to find like funny ones for positively reviewed movies because most people are like, oh, this changed my life. What a transcendent experience. But sometimes people will be like, like this one. This one's from.
Okay. Some of the people that say that, I'm like, let's calm down a bit. I
know. It's like, whose ass are you kissing? Like, you're not getting a job from this. This is from Kennedy. Just made me laugh. I relate to Randy because I too scream at everybody about the rules of cinema when it is not appropriate or asked for at social events. 4 stars. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Look, that's the part of being a film fan. There's things I've gone on about when when I'm in a group setting and people start talking about movies and I can't help myself. My nerdisms come out and I'm like, oh shit, I'm the only one that apparently cares and no one asked for all this information. Sweet.
Yeah, but then I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to someone else because y'all are boring.
Yeah, I usually just leave the group at that point. It's like, all right, I'm going to awkward myself out of this right now.
Yeah, like now goodbye forever. And whoop. This one's from Matt Singer. Movies hurt people. Specifically, if you drop a tube television playing the original Halloween on a dude's head, that hurts a lot. 4 stars.
It does hurt.
Yeah.
Look, those TVs back then were heavy as shit. I had to move a couple when we were making my family was making the transition to like the flat screens. Oh boy, that shit was heavy.
I'm so thankful that TVs got lighter and like way more high definition in my lifetime, and B, that shit is so much easier to plug into it. The HDMI cable is the greatest invention of my lifetime.
Dude, you plug in the power cable and the HDMI and you're done. After that, it's any other accessories you want to plug in.
You remember the 3 colored like plugins and you had it'd be on like channel 3. Like,
dude, yeah, the shit we had to do just to play fucking PlayStation back then, man. I remember going to a friend's house, be like, okay, we got to play the PlayStation 2. And dude, especially if like, oh, hey man, my parents are gone. we can use the living room TV.
Oh my God.
You're so fucking excited as a kid, but dear God, you got to like fucking move the TV without breaking their fucking prized, huge ass, boxy living room TV, and then try to plug all this shit in because they usually had like their own DVD player plugged in, all those other. Oh God, it was worth it in the end, but it was a nightmare. And then God bless, you didn't fucking unplug anything at the end of the night, and you got woken up by their parents. Hey, unplug the PlayStation. We need the TV.
You ever plug the AV cords into the wrong hole and hear like that bzzz, like vibrating loud super noise?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
now it's just one
God.
cord, plug and play. Thank God.
Yeah, and everyone has big TVs, so there's no more like let's go grab the living room TV because it's super late at night or the parents are gone for whatever reason.
Oh boy. All right. This next one's from Liam F. This episode of Scooby-Doo certainly got a bit out of hand. 4.5 stars. Shaggy needs to calm the fuck down. And there's no dog.
Oh my God.
Oh, and this last one's from Dakota Joaquin.
Look. Honestly, as someone who is actually my dog's been doing much better. But for a while there, I was actually very happy if I watched something with a dog on it because Duke would he would stop, but he would run at my TV and his nose would touch it. I get scared a lot. He's done now because I've gotten mad several times, but he's finally stopped doing it. But I'm actually in the past was happy if there was no dog on the TV.
That's funny, but yeah, I would love if I know that at the time Matthew Lillard was not yet Shaggy. So it'd be funny if he also, if Stu just happened to have a great day and he palled around with.
Oh my God.
Oh boy. Well, I mean, Scooby, Skeet, kind of.
Oh boy. I
Um,
decide with that whole thing with my dog. If it's an animated dog, he won't do shit. His
he
brain
can
cannot.
palate.
Yeah, his brain cannot process an animated dog, but if it's a real dog, it's like game on.
That's funny. Your dog's like a litmus test for realistic dog depiction in film.
Yes.
Like Ex Machina, if it was a dog AI.
Yes. he somehow knows the difference. I'm kind of scared.
Well, if you're ever if there's ever a dog outside your apartment and Duke's not reacting to the bark, then that's a Terminator. And you need to get out of there.
Right? Shut. Oh, probably.
Oh my God. Okay. Dakota Joaquin did this last one. So apparently Wes Craven had initially turned down directing Scream. He only changed his mind after he was confronted by a 10-year-old boy who accused Craven of going soft and having more guts back in the day when he was directing films like Last House on the Left.
What? You said a 10-year-old boy.
Oh, that's the next part. All I want to know is who the fuck was this child that was familiar enough with Wes Craven's filmography to determine that he had been going soft, and how much did his goddamn therapy cost? 5 stars.
Yeah. Look, I am an advocate of being against this whole censorship thing. Like, you as a parent should dictate what you think is okay for your kids to watch. I don't know if I would be super okay with my 10-year-old kid watching Last House on the Left, either the original or the remake, because there's gonna be a lot of eye covering for extended rape scenes. But yeah, how much of this shit did this kid watch to go like, you've gone soft, Wes? The new Nightmare movies, they suck.
Well, even that, this kid had seen it and wasn't phased. He was like, the hell are you? What have you become, Wes? Jesus Christ, where are your balls?
Who is this kid? The Night Stalker? We just don't know it.
Well, I love that Wes was clearly shaken by that. It's like, what?
Yeah.
10-year-old tells you lost your balls, and all of a sudden you're completely rethinking your career thus far.
You know what? I want all things judged by kids nowadays. So, like, for example, there's a famous story with Slipknot in their first two albums. They like said "fuck" almost every other word, right? And a fan wrote to Corey Taylor saying, "I bet you can't write an album without using, the F word." And he said, "Fuck you, watch this," and did and did, and did, and did their third album with zero usage of the F word, and it was like their biggest hit album. Like, it was a huge hit. That's where a lot of the songs people know from Slipknot came from, like Before I Forget and Duality and shit. I would love to know if that was like a 10-year-old. You have no balls, Corey.
I hope it was the same 10-year-old. I hope this guy's like, see you, Wes. I got to go tell Corey Taylor he's full of shit. This badass 10-year-old is just on a quest to make sure all of his favorite shit happens the way it was supposed to go.
Oh God. I love the same 10-year-old. Now I'm putting Wes Craven in his place. I need to go talk to Corey Taylor.
Wes went home and was like, damn, that kid had a point. Maybe I got to do this. We have that kid to thank for Scream.
Yeah, that's insane. That a 10-year-old was just like, "You're soft, dude," and he took that to heart. He's like, "Did a 10-year-old just say I'm soft?"
It's, kids don't have a filter. Insults are real coming from kids. Insults and praise. You can, they're not going to filter shit. They're going to tell you exactly what they're thinking.
Right? God damn it. All right. Good on that 10-year-old. You gotta scream.
That's fantastic. Okay. So that was fun. This has been a blast. Before we go, let's do a quick ranking of all 6 Scream movies. Spoiler free for the new one. Just what we thought. Where does it rank, worst to best for Scream? You go first.
Okay, well, I want to first preface, but I really hope this 10-year-old kid isn't like going to come after me after this and put me in my place, because he sounds intense.
I hope it's like a ghost who's perpetually 10 years old and just shows up to tell people when they're losing their edge. Like, not in a ghost way, just like in a kid with like Heeley shoes and a backwards cap, like leaning against a wall, being like, "What happened to you, man?"
You think that's how we got Jackass Forever? He was just like, you guys aren't going to do a 4th one? Okay, you guys just aren't doing stunts anymore because you're too old? Huh. Pussies!
So that rocket make you lose your balls, Johnny? Is that what's happening? You've gone soft. What happened, man?
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve-O. You didn't do enough extreme shit. You don't want to do anything anymore? Okay.
This kid is why Dave Chappelle came back. He's like, "What happened, Dave? You used to mean something."
What? When you walked away from the money, you walked away with your balls too, Dave?
All these artists are just like, "Well, fuck you, kid. I've still got it." And there we go. I love this kid.
Oh God! All right. On that note, with that said, another actual thing I want to preface. With this said, my least favorite Scream film, again, this is a franchise where my least favorite is a 7. Okay, that to me, I want to preface with how consistently good this series is compared to most horror franchises, which does not happen often. So, on that note, 6 is Scream 3. It's very obvious for Kevin Williamson. There was a lot of production issues with it, so it's very obvious on a lot of that stuff. It shows in the final product. So for me, Scream 3. 5 might be the hot takes. I know a lot of people put this as their least favorite, but Scream 4, I will defend it. I think Scream 4 is a good movie. Yes, it has a fucking Instagram look to it. I understand that. But I do think this was a return to form with Craven back, Williamson back. Like, this one worked for me. I really like Scream 4. 4 will be Scream 2022. Again, a solid fucking comeback for this franchise, especially obviously, us wondering, can it continue about Wes Craven? This proved it can. So really like Scream 2022. 3 is a new kid on the block. Scream 6, really, I've seen this twice in theaters now, two different people, and it really, this is a case of a sequel that just took what worked and built and ran with it. So really, really like Scream 6. 2, this might be a shocker. The original Scream, OG.
Okay.
Yes, OG, and that's because my number one is actually Scream 2. This is, again, much like what Scream 6 did, a sequel that built and ran with it and made a really entertaining sequel. Yes, with that said, do I stand by my statement that the reveal in Scream 1 is the best reveal in the entire? Yes. But Scream 2 is probably the one I've gone back to actually the most. I just have so much fun with this sequel. I like a lot of the characters, much like Scream 6, things I can apply with, like, liking the returning cast better, liking the new characters quite a bit. A lot of that stuff is honestly applied to Scream 2. I like the original cast a lot more. I like the return. I like a lot of the new characters they threw into it. I really, 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 really like Scream 2. It's a fun movie for me.
I did not see that coming. That's awesome. Very cool. Scream 2 wins. Very exciting. Yes. I like all 6 of these movies. I like some better than others. My lowest score is probably a 7 as well. Scream 4 is my lowest. Okay. I just don't. I feel like there wasn't a lot going on. I thought the twist was kind of like, oh, okay, it's that guy, and I didn't feel a lot invested in Scream 4. I've seen it 3 times now, and I honestly couldn't tell you a lot about it.
I mean, I'll take your 7 over the 6 he originally gave it. So I like that at least went up 1.
Oh, maybe it was a 6. I don't remember. It's whatever I have it on. I honestly don't remember. It's a 6 or 7.
I do respectfully disagree on Scream 4. I quite like it, but I know, like, for a lot of fans, it is like the low point for them. But
next up is Scream 3. I get it. It's weaker. The villains got into the whole, the secret brother who orchestrated the whole damn thing, all 3 movies. It's like, really?
Yep. And something that, like, I'm going to say it, the Saw franchise has really been running with.
I'm waiting for the, Jigsaw's brother, Jim Kramer, who moonlights as a economics guy on TV.
What's funny? People who have not seen Saw think like they now got spoiled and know what I'm talking about. I'm like, no. People who've seen Saw know what I'm talking about in that reference.
Yeah, come on.
And the secret apprentice.
Oh, so I was like, you are the one I trust above all to continue my work. You've said that to like 4 people. It's lost all meaning.
I watched the past 4 films where you kept saying that, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, what I like more about Scream 3 is the idea of like murder in Hollywood, killing on a film set. I like that.
It's a cool. I'm not going to take that away. It's a really cool concept. I personally just think it should have been utilized better.
Fair enough.
But it is a cool concept. I'll give you that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Next up is Scream 2.
Wow. Okay, I didn't expect this one to be so low.
Yeah, and I got no beef with Scream 2. Like, all but Scream 4 are 8s to me. So we're all, it's all positive. It's all love here. Scream 2, I like a lot. I think I like the college setting. I like the new characters. I like the, Sarah Michelle Gellar getting killed. It's cool. And yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Next up is 5 Cream. I'm never not going to call it 5 Cream.
I should have never told you that. It's
hilarious. And it's perfect.
It has overstayed its welcome, but go on.
It distinguishes the 2 movies perfectly without me having to say 4 extra numbers.
Just say Scream 22. It's like Halloween 18.
I just say actually, no, I don't have a distinction. I'll have to figure something out.
How they could have fixed it? They could have just gone with the original old ass title they had for the longest time. Halloween Returns. It was right there for the taking.
That's perfect. Where was I? 5 Cream. I like this. There was a lot riding on this. A lot of people were, hesitant. It was the first Scream without Wes, but it perfectly takes his legacy and puts it in a glass bottle and just protects it. The 2 guys they got excelled. The ghost face they had was a tall, scary looking motherfucker, which is weird because neither of the killers were that tall.
Yep. It started the annoying debate that's been going on now that, oh my God, is it Stu? Because Matthew Lillard's a very tall person.
And, I finally got to see Dewey kick it, which was great.
Fuck you. God.
And we get to see a new generation of, survivors with their new set of rules, talking about elevated horror and requels. It was a very timely Scream that worked for a new generation. I really liked that.
I tuned you out completely with your stupid Dewey comment.
I prefer Officer Doofy from Scary Movie.
God, who are you?
Tired.
God.
I'm tired. Next up is Scream 6. Scream 6 fucking rocked. Bringing Ghostface to New York City, having a whole new playground to play in. I love everyone around the murder not giving a fuck because this is New York. It's not my problem. I love that. And it was just, this was...
I'm about to say the set pieces and how they utilized New York was great. Like how he was doing shit in front of people and showing like, wow, New York is cold. They don't give a shit.
On the fucking subway in front of dozens of witnesses, it was just like, and then just walking off. New York.
New York.
Yeah, what a town. If you can make it there, then I hope you survive.
Moving to New York.
And this Ghostface was very personal, very much like, I want to hurt you, and I'm going to rip apart everybody connected to you. It felt a lot like the first Ghostface. This was a personal vendetta that was vicious and violent and unforgivable. And
yes.
I liked that. I loved the shrine. I thought that was a brilliant set piece. I won't go too much into it because, it's still out in theaters. People got to see it. But it's really good. It's exciting. It's fresh. It's new. It's got some really inventive kills, a good bunch of characters, and is, to me, second only to the original. Number one is
honestly, real quick, Scream 6 to me has some of the best lines delivered by Ghostface. I think some Bars Retractions best stuff he has to say.
Yeah, it's not really about movies now. Now it's about murder.
It's like yeah, a lot of the lines you can tell he's relishing in, like the phone call he has with Gel. It's like one of the best scenes when he's just like goading her, like, "Oh, you couldn't save Dewey, poor sweet Dewey." He's like, "Well, Sydney was always the main character, and Dewey was a fan favorite. What does that make you, Gel?" And like just the way he's goading her, I loved when she pulled that shit on him. She's like, "Hey, can I put you on hold? I love that break." Wait, what? I'm like, yes. Finally, someone just did that.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was awesome. Yeah, this was a blast. I love this. But to me, nothing beats the original Scream. It was, the game changer. It was established a great new franchise, some iconic characters, and still holds up. This is a fun movie. It's still a great movie. Even if you know what's coming, it's still a great watch. And to me that counts. So recap with your just the numbers.
With just the numbers? What?
Yeah, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.
Oh, so yeah, so it's just like how we always do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why you said it so weird.
Like you don't have to say Scream. You just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, that's not. Oh, I was like, that sounds silly.
How is this confusing?
I got confused immediately. God, I'm just gonna do it my way. 6,
do it your way. You do it your way.
6 Scream 3, 5 Scream 4. Yeah, see, I like this. 4th was Scream 2022. Number 3 was Scream 6, the new kid on the block. 2, the original Scream, and number 1 I had Scream 2. So
fantastic, great, good job. I had Scream 4, Scream 3, Scream 2, 5 Cream, Scream 6, and Scream. So there you go. Those are our rankings of the Scream franchise. Holy shit.
Gotta throw in an extra word there and confuse me.
This was really fun. I like this new structure. I like the way this is going to be a blast. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you like the show, Feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Filmgazm Productions. If you want to suggest films for us to check out, you can email us at filmgazm@gmail.com or send us a message through the socials. Check out our Letterboxd accounts for daily reviews. You can search me at Connor95, and in my friends list, you can find the rest of the team, or you can go to filmgazm.com where I have a link to my Letterboxd account, and I post all my reviews there as well. And there you can also hear all of our shows and check out trailers for upcoming movies. If you'd like to become a monthly donor to Filmgazm Productions, feel free to click on the link in the episode description. From there, click on Support This Podcast. You can choose to donate $1 a month if you like us, $5 a month if you love us, and $10 a month if you can't live without us. All donations go right back into the podcast, recording equipment, advertising, movie rental budget. We appreciate any donations. We hope you like the show. Thanks to the entire Filmgazm team for their constant friendship and contributions to the show. Austin Johnson, Caleb Leger, Josh Allred, Colton Jenkins, Cristian Aguilar, Isabel Gonzalez, Jeremy Johnson, and Adam Johnson. Thanks to Cooley Cow for our awesome theme music. And thanks to you for checking out our show and making it this far. And remember, if a psycho calls you when you're alone, wants to know your favorite scary movie, you best remember your trivia because he's not going to stop. Take it easy, keep watching movies, and we'll see you next week.
Pussies!